Welcome back to Freedom Pulse, where we cut through the noise in Jefferson City and bring you the truth about what's really happening with your state government. We begin this week with the House Special Interim Committee on Property Tax Reform, which has now wrapped up its final meeting. The theme couldn't be clearer. While everyday Missourians are focused on protecting their money and their homes from government overreach, the bureaucrats are determined to protect the government's steady access to your money. We'll also bring you the latest update on the Ombudsman position, a role that was supposed to help taxpayers but has been tied up in excuses and backtracking. In the most recent hearing, Representative Van Schoyak pressed the State Tax Commission hard, but it's clear they're just stalling until the public pressure dies down. Then we'll turn to Governor Kehoe's special session, called to redraw Missouri's congressional districts and to address so-called IP reform. But here's the problem. The redistricting should have been completed back in 2022. The fact that it wasn't is just another example of how our state government has failed the people. And instead of dealing with the real issues, we're left with half measures like HJR 3, what we've called a lemon of a bill, raising serious questions about whether this session is about genuine reform or just political theater. At the heart of it all lies one question: will government serve the people, or will it continue serving itself with our money? That's what we'll be tackling in this week's show. So let's start this week where the fight over your money is front and center. The final meetings of the House Special Interim Committee on Property Tax Reform. The hearings made one thing crystal clear. Bureaucrats are far more concerned with protecting government revenues than protecting Missouri families from being taxed out of their homes. We heard from assessors, county officials, collectors, and library directors. Their common theme wasn't how do we keep Missourians in their homes, but how do we guarantee government keeps its money flowing? For example, the Boone County assessor pushed for more funding for his office.
In 1989, when I went to work for the county assessor's office in Boone County, I haven't been assessor that long, but that's when I started. The parcel reimbursement was $6 a parcel. Today it's $3.30. We need to get that back up.
One of the most revealing moments came from the Missouri Association of Counties. Their director complained that county officials don't stay in office for 30 or 40 years like they used to.
We're seeing overturn of assessors and county elected officials. They don't serve for 30 years and 40 years like they used to.
As if turnover and accountability to the people were somehow a problem. He even admitted that voters often push assessors out because they're angry about rising assessments.
When we have turnover in those positions, it just makes it harder.
So just to follow up on that then, so those within the last 30 years, you're seeing that rotation. Is that due to retirement or specifically to elections and the people talking out and speaking out in the aspect that they believe for their purpose is that the assessor is the one that's setting the value. So for that purpose, they're speaking out and saying, we want to change here, not recognizing that it really is not happening on that level?
It's a combination of both. First of all, the assessor's job is to fairly and accurately assess property. They have nothing to do with the levy setting process.
Oh, yes, sir. I understand that.
And all that.
I think a lot of voters
but the
may not
dynamic
understand that. Has
changed where folks believe that the increase in your assessment means that your taxes are going to go up the same amount. And so that narrative is out there. You also have a county elected assessor that's charged with going out and raising the value of your property tax, of your assessed value, that could then translate into a raise in your taxes that has to stand for re-election in 4 years.
Right.
To us, that doesn't sound like a crisis. It sounds like citizens doing their job. There are still far too many officials who've clung to office for decades. Just look at Congress to see the damage career politicians can do. These remarks show the attitude of entitlement that runs deep in Missouri's bureaucracy. The St. Charles County collector mocked tax relief efforts as jackass legislation. Her words, not ours.
That's how I feel about these tax freeze bills zooming out of the Missouri legislature. It's jackass legislation.
In short, government can't survive on a Caesar salad, so taxpayers have to keep feeding the system. The defense of government coffers was loud and clear, while struggling homeowners were barely acknowledged. And then there's the Ombudsman issue. The State Tax Commission has been playing games from the start. Listen to this from our previous report. 2 committee hearings, the commission explained that the Ombudsman wasn't funded in the state budget, and therefore they had no way to fill the position.
And you can't hire one state ombudsman?
We've not been appropriated for it, no.
One of the questions we had last time was about the statute that requires an ombudsman.
Yes.
Yeah. You said several different things were said about that position, about why we don't have an ombudsman. Could you go into that a little bit further about why we don't have an ombudsman when the state law requires it?
It was after it was enacted, there was several years, or the first 2 or 3 years that it was on the table, it was presented in the budget and was not funded. And so commissions before me evidently felt like if it wasn't going to get funded, they stopped presenting it to the governor's desk for consideration.
We checked. Act for Missouri reviewed the budget and found that the employee funding is a single line item. It does not dictate specific job titles to fill. In other words, staffing choices sit with the State Tax Commission. Representative Van Scoyac asked House Budget Chair Representative Dirk Deaton, who confirmed that understanding.
Asked a question of our budget chairman, Representative Deaton, about funding this position. And he told me that you have the right to hire whoever you want to once we as the legislature say, yes, this many FTEs, you can hire them for any position you want to. Is that correct?
I would think so.
I think that's correct, yeah.
So the no funding excuse doesn't hold up. Here's where things stand now. At the most recent hearing, the commission said it gets the message. Representative Van Scoyac told us he takes that as the commission agreeing to finally hire an ombudsman. Here is that exchange.
So why haven't you hired an ombudsman, folks? It's required in the law. This is the point I've been making. I'll make it until we get through with this, that you need an ombudsman. Also, Representative Deaton informed me that it was not the legislature that asked for the legislative liaison position. It was the commission that asked for that position. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you did ask for an additional FTE that you didn't have before. Is that correct?
Yes.
But not an ombudsman.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that needs to be rethought. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Representative. Any reply on that, or just let it stand?
Message well received.
But at this last hearing, we were back to this.
Let's go to what I've been talking about all the time, ombudsman position. We talked about that last week. You said you're looking at getting, how have you made any progress since then?
We had a manager's meeting, and we set up what we think the email need to be for that specific one. We talked about the phone that we're going to use. We're talking about form development so that we can get this to it. We're talking about how we want to change our website to actually move the tab. That one would be the first one they'd see, straight to the left, so that they would be able to use it and it would be user-friendly.
Wonderful.
And so I feel like we have. We still do not have an ombudsman because we don't have the ability to hire that right now.
When are you planning on doing that?
Well, we'll ask in the budget time. So it's
now,
yeah.
We're going back to because we funded the commission, we funded the ombudsman position.
Then Shoyak dismantled that argument on the spot, but it showed everyone watching. The State Tax Commission cannot be trusted to follow through on their own word.
I'm not real sure where we're supposed to get the money.
You've already got it.
The $11 million that's in our budget is not ours. It's pass-through money.
You're funded for so many FTEs, right?
FTEs, yes.
Yeah. You're funded for an ombudsman.
Dave, do we have a response to that? Because I don't know.
I am a thoroughbred bureaucrat, so I'm just going to throw that out there because I know everybody hates bureaucrats. In the budget process, we're allotted or allocated a fund to pay our personal services and an FTE. So those FTE were already allocated when that position came up. So I think, and I don't know because this was a problem that started before I became in this position, until the tax commission got the extra position or the extra funding for that position, you would have had to take away from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So those positions were already allocated to those job functions.
Are they in statute that they're to be filled?
As they are now?
Yes.
They're in the budget, but he's asking.
Okay, but they're not in statute. The ombudsman's in statute.
I understand where you're going. That's what I was.
See, that's the place where I'm going here. The ombudsman statute has been in statute since 2008.
Right, I understand.
How long have you worked for this tax commission?
Since 1998.
Since 98. So you were there before the ombudsman position was required, right? Yeah. So for 16 years, we've gone with a position that's in statute and not filled, although you've been allocated FTEs. It's up to you how you fill those FTEs. I'm saying you fill them with positions that aren't in statute, and here we've got one that's in statute and it's not filled.
I understand.
And that's not right.
I understand.
We will have to ride them all the way to make sure this position actually gets filled, and taxpayers finally get the help they were promised. Will the committee act on what they have learned this summer? 3 members of this very same committee have already filed bills in the special session: HJR 5, HJR 6, and HJR 7, and they're virtually identical. Yes, they eliminate personal property tax, which we support, but they also give the State Tax Commission more power over real property taxation. So let's be clear. We support personal property tax elimination as a clean measure, but tying it to more authority for the STC, the same commission that has stalled, dodged, and misled this committee, is a mistake. Strip out those provisions, pass the elimination of personal property tax by itself, and then craft real reforms that protect Missouri homeowners from losing their property to the taxman. At the end of the day, this isn't about government protecting its budgets. It's about protecting families, homes, and the future of Missouri. The question remains, will government finally serve the people, or will it continue serving itself with our money? That brings us to the governor's special session, and the first issue on the table is congressional redistricting. Let's be clear, this would not even be happening without President Trump's pressure. Missouri's leaders never would have taken this up on their own. They could do this back in 2022, right after the census, when it was both appropriate and expected, but they lacked the courage to act then. Act for Missouri does believe that Missouri is a 7-to-1 district state. That reflects the true makeup of our people and our values. But timing matters. Doing this 3 years late, under political pressure, is not the same as doing it when it was constitutionally intended. We're not saying what's happening is unconstitutional. However, we argue that it does not accurately reflect the intent of the Constitution either. This is an example of what happens when we don't have strong leadership in Jefferson City. If they had done their duty in 2022, this entire special session wouldn't even be necessary. As of the recording of this piece, HB 1 has passed the House and been sent to the Senate. We're sure this is all just political theater, and it will pass the Senate as scripted later this week. Now let's talk about Initiative Petition Reform. The Missouri grassroots has been waiting nearly a decade for real initiative petition reform. And just like Charlie Brown with the football, every time we've gotten close, our Republican supermajority has yanked it away. This special session was supposed to be the chance to finally deliver. But instead, what we got was deeply disappointing. Republicans have all the political capital they need to give the people of Missouri fair IP reform that truly protects our state constitution. They could have used state house districts instead of congressional districts to measure support. They could have put in place a 2/3 requirement on amendments originating in the legislature, making sure politicians play by the same rules as the people. But instead, they chose the opposite path. What they advanced in this session may offer some protection to the Constitution, but it increases the power of politicians while reducing the power of the people. That is not reform, it's a power grab. And just like with redistricting, the governor's preferred bill was rushed through the House and passed while we were recording this show. Representative Bryant Wolfen offered a real alternative, but it wasn't even given consideration. They didn't even pretend to listen to the grassroots. So here we are again, The people of Missouri asking for genuine reform, and the political class giving us another show instead. And when this passes, they will all claim victory. But make no mistake, in the end, the only ones cheering what they've done will be the politicians themselves, not the people of Missouri. That brings us to the end of this week's Freedom Pulse. Thank you for watching and for staying engaged in the fight for Missouri's future. There won't be a regular episode next week, but rest assured, we'll be keeping you up to date on any breaking news through our social media channels, and we'll drop a special report if necessary. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another regular episode. In the meantime, make sure you're connected with us. Follow, share, and subscribe on all of our social media platforms and video channels so you don't miss a single update. Your support helps us get the truth out and keep the pressure on Jefferson City. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and keep standing for Missouri.